There is a food revolution sweeping across this country. Over the past few years, the number of farmers markets has grown exponentially. Farm-to-school programs are taking root from coast to coast, from the Mission District in San Francisco to the Bronx in New York City. And the First Lady of the United States has grown a vegetable garden at the White House. And Seattle stands at the forefront of this moving tide. Only in Seattle will you see people growing kale instead of grass in their front yard. Only in Seattle will you see chickens walking in the streets. Only in Seattle does knowing the farmer who grew your carrots, the farmer who raised your beef, become a source of pride. There are so many things in the world that need changing. And so many of these things are too gargantuan for us to tackle. Things like globalization and climate change. Things like healthcare and energy independence. Many of us just feel too overwhelmed to know where to begin. But everyone can make a difference if they just eat as an act of change. We all eat. Some of us just nibble, some of us like to indulge. Some of us like to eat Wonder Bread, some of us like to eat Grandma's challah bread. Some of us like to go to McDonald's, and some of us just like to stay at home. But we all eat, and that is why food is the most unifying agent for change. With writers like Michael Pollan and chefs like Alice Waters, bringing local and fresh produce to mainstream cultures everywhere, it's hard for anyone to ignore the growing influence of sustainable agriculture. But 20 years ago, this landscape looked a lot different. 20 years ago, I didn't care where my food came from, what season it was grown in, and what farmer grew my food. 20 years ago, all I wanted was Chef Boyardee's beefaroni, or Kids Cuisine's frozen dinners, or Taco Bell. As a child, my dining room table was used to hold stacks of unread mail, was used to hold stacks of unpaid bills, was used to hold stacks of receipts for unwanted Christmas presents. There was no dining at this table. Instead, I would make Pillsbury toaster strudels, sit down in the living room and watch Ninja Turtles on television. Or after school, I'd make Hot Pockets, turn on the television, and watch X-Men. Or for dinner, ask my mom to go buy some Whoppers with cheese, sit down and watch PBS. As a child, it was so easy for me to dismiss what I was eating because I was more concerned about what I was watching. A couple months ago, I was invited to go to a dinner that an organization called Community Kitchens Northwest had hosted. They invited people from the Central District, from Capitol Hill, to gather together, cook, and share a meal. We made burritos, and everything except for the tortillas and the chips were made from scratch. And for some reason, that night was like a breath of fresh air for me. It had rejuvenated me after 12 straight days of work. A week later, a school called the Puget Sound Community School had invited me to attend a dinner. Students and faculty shared stories from high school. We watched students make art, and we broke bread together. And once again, I was overwhelmed with a youthful sense of joy. I couldn't understand why these two dinners had such an impact on my life until I really sat down and ruminated over it. Before children are consumed by society's pressures, they don't care about what someone wears, where someone's from, or what they believe in. All they want to do is just laugh and smile, and they see another child as wanting the same thing. As they grow up, however, society's pressures become stronger and stronger, and they start to take notice as to what car someone else drives, or what school someone else goes to, or whether they read the Quran, the Torah, or the Bible. whether they're Democrat or Republican. As we grow older, we put more and more labels on everything around us, and a sense of community becomes something foreign to us all. When we lose that sense of community, we begin to fall habit to eating in private isolation. When we dine alone, it's so easy for us to not care about what we're eating. So that salad becomes potato chips, and that orange juice becomes Coca-Cola, and that homemade lasagna becomes pizza from Domino's. So in an effort to create sustainable food, we must not separate the act of growing food from the act of eating food. Because planting chard in your garden or going to the farmer's market and buying zucchini doesn't matter if we don't know how to take the time to prepare it, because the zucchini will mold and the chard will bolt. If we teach children how to harvest daikon, it becomes meaningless unless we also teach them how to make oshinko out of it so they could bring it to their family. If we just teach children how to harvest cabbage, thin out the weeds, it becomes like a chore and boring to them unless we teach them how to make kimchi so they could bring it to their family, share it with their friends. Green onions appear to be just like grass to a child's eyes unless we teach them how to harvest it and make chongyobin so they could share it with their friends too. In 2008, I started to think about building the Danny Wu Children's Garden. In 2009, construction began. In 2010, the Danny Wu Children's Garden was complete, with a tool shed, garden beds, worm bins, and a chicken coop. And in 2011, I want the Danny Wu Children's Garden to have a kitchen where we can invite children to gather, to harvest the garlic, to harvest the eggplant, to harvest the bok choy, so we can prepare a meal and share it, become friends, and have memories together. So I invite you to help support this kitchen. Together we could build the kitchen that will invite the children, that will create the community, that will sustain the health, the culture, and tradition of this neighborhood. Please help me. Thank you.